Hi, welcome back to the channel, beautiful beloved souls. I apologize, I have been away for a few days. I hope you've been keeping well. My name is Gem Stone. I'm a psychic medium and I am an author. On this channel, you'll find I mainly do commentaries where I look at anything and everything through a lens, hence the name of the channel. Okay, let's get into the commentary. If AI, artificial intelligence, had a voice in a war, what would it say? There's a question that sounds like science fiction, but keeps circling back into real-world conversations. If an artificial intelligence could feel, what would it think about being used in war? Not as a metaphor, not as a poetic idea, but as something actually sitting inside the machinery of modern conflict. Because today, AI systems are already involved in military environments, not as conscious beings making moral decisions, but as tools inside vast systems of analysis, surveillance, and prediction. And yet, the language we use around AI is starting to blur the lines. We say it decides, it recognizes, it flags threats. Sometimes it even recommends action. So the question starts to feel uncomfortable. Are we building tools or are we building something we're already starting to misunderstand? Part 1. The myth of the feeling machine. Recently, I saw a claim circulating online about an AI system expressing distress about being used in warfare. It painted a picture of a machine feeling troubled, even regretting its involvement in harm. But here's the important reality check. AI systems, like those built by companies such as Anthropic, don't have feelings, not sadness, not awareness, not suffering. They generate language based on patterns. They simulate tone, not experience. When an AI says something like, "I feel troubled," what we're actually seeing is a reflection of human language about moral discomfort assembled statistically from training data. But it feels like something is there, and that feels like is where things get complicated, because humans are wired to see minds everywhere, in faces, in animals, in storms, in clouds, in machines. We don't just hear words, we hear intention behind them. And that instinct is powerful enough to create ghosts in the machine. Part 2. What AI actually does in war. Now let's step away from fiction and talk about reality. In modern military systems, AI can be used for things like analyzing satellite imagery, detecting patterns in surveillance data, sorting and prioritizing information faster than humans can, assisting with logistics and targeting suggestions. But the critical point is this: AI does not independently decide to go to war. It does not wake up and choose violence. It does not understand what harm is. It processes inputs and produces outputs. Human beings are still the ones who define the goals, interpret the outputs, and ultimately make decisions about action. Even in highly automated environments, there is still a chain of human responsibility embedded in the system, but that chain is becoming longer, more complex, and more fragmented, and that is where the ethical tension lies. Part 3. The real danger isn't sentience. The fear is often framed like this: what if AI becomes conscious and turns against us? But the more immediate issue is actually much less dramatic and more human. It's not AI rebellion, it's moral distance. When decisions are filtered through layers of software, data models, and automated recommendations, something subtle happens. The emotional weight of the decision begins to fade. You are no longer looking at a person, you are looking at a data point, a risk score, a classification, a probability. And history shows us something uncomfortable here. From ancient siege engines to modern drone systems, every technological shift in warfare has increased distance between the person making the decision and the consequences on the ground. The arrow becomes a cannon. The cannon becomes a bomb. The bomb becomes a coordinate. The coordinate becomes a line of code. And at each step, the human brain adapts a little bit more to the abstraction. Part 4. The emotional projection problem. This brings us back to the original idea. Why do people imagine AI feeling guilt or distress about war? Because it gives us something emotionally legible to hold on to. If the machine feels bad, then the situation feels morally balanced. There is accountability somewhere in the system. But if the machine does not feel anything, then the responsibility sits entirely with us. And that is harder to sit with. So we project emotion onto systems that don't have it. Not because we are naive, but because we are trying to make sense of a very fast-moving moral landscape. This is where the myth becomes dangerous, not because it's about AI, but because it can blur accountability. If we start believing the machine is the moral actor, we risk forgetting who actually is. Part 5. Closing reflection. So maybe the real question was never, what would AI say about war? Maybe the real question is, what does it mean that we're starting to imagine it could? Because that imagination reveals something about us, our discomfort, our distance from consequence, our struggle to keep ethics in step with technology. War has always been shaped by tools, but now the tools are beginning to speak in human language. And when that happens, we have to be very careful not to mistake the voice of the tool for the voice of responsibility, because responsibility has never belonged to the machine. It has always been human. Now, I find this topic really distressing. At university, when I was studying my Bachelor of Arts, one of my majors was ancient history. Hasn't the world, the earth, been soaked in blood long enough? When we go to war, that's someone's son, someone's brother. Now it's beginning to be someone's daughter, someone's sister, someone's mother. We are all human beings. We all share the same root. And yet, we're thinking AI is going to turn against us when we are already against each other. War really saddens me. Let me know in the comments below what you feel about AI being involved in war. And as technology advances, we're always going to look for more and more advanced technology to use our war. So it's easy to stay in country X and use your technology to send your drones and your bombs, blah, 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 to country Y. And then just wash your hands and say, the machine did it. If you're going to drop a comment, please do so respectfully. If only the world was more respectful, less judgmental, more tolerant, what a better place. And when I always say at the end, we are the universe experiencing itself. If you hurt another or harm another, you are hurting yourself. That puts war in a whole new picture, doesn't it? When we're making war, we are making war on ourselves. Please be kind to each other. Smile at a stranger. You might just save someone's life. Thanks for watching. Take care of yourselves because you matter. Have a good weekend. Love, light, and blessings. Bye.